On that, we are going to be talking about Roadhouse, the 2024 Jake Gyllenhaal.
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
Is it Is it Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal?
Gyllenhaal. I say Gyllenhaal.
I say
So like Jeff or Gif?
I don't know.
What is it?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Sounds better.
I say Maggie
Jake Gyllenhaal. It doesn't sound right.
It's
Jake
Maggie
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Sure.
So confusing.
Oh, man.
I hate words. That's why I hate reading.
Yeah. Okay. So Roadhouse,
Yeah.
2024 remake.
You ready?
Jude, take it away.
All right.
I can't wait to hear the synopsis because I know you hate this movie.
2024 Roadhouse, rated R with a runtime of 2 hours and 1 minute, which
Too
is
long. Way too long.
This had a budget of $85 million.
Shut up. For what?
I don't know. Not for pants.
Boat. For the boat.
What do you think this brought in?
Oh, it's streaming only, and it's not. I didn't have to rent it. It came with the subscription to Amazon,
Free Prime.
right? It's on Prime,
Yep.
Included in your membership. So I didn't spend any money on it. I spent 2 hours of my life. I have no idea. No idea. I'm gonna say it barely made its budget back, maybe less.
See? Just take a guess.
Yeah, just guess.
Because
Doesn't
I really
don't-
want to tell you.
Money?
Yeah. How much money did
Just say
this
zero.
movie make?
None.
Okay. Had a budget of $85 million, and this brought in $61 million.
Good. Good.
How is that defined?
By
People- you're still
streams.
you're still
Yeah,
watching.
you gotta sell it to the platform.
I just watched it yesterday. Does that
So you're
count?
saying that Amazon purchased it for $60 million?
Mm.
Is that's all they were like? Yeah, this movie's trash. We're gonna do it.
I'm just telling you what the internet
Okay.
told me.
Fair enough.
interwebs? It's okay.
Are you ready for my original thoughts, though?
Please,
All right.
please.
Ex-UFC fighter Jake Gyllenhaal is not a famous cooler, but he is sought out by the owner of a bar unoriginally called Roadhouse. Conor McGregor doesn't get paid enough to wear pants and also might have to poop by the way he's walking. There's no Wade, no boot knife, no polar bear, and no boobs. But don't worry, there's a zero charm love interest. Please discuss.
Accurate. Okay. If you guys go to criticalist.com, you can check out my profile there. I just dropped my review. I'm sitting solid at 38% bogus on this movie. It is not good.
Mhm.
It is not good. It is a by definition a cheap imitation.
Yeah.
2024 check all the boxes remake of
It's
a
not
Swayze classic.
It's not even badass.
It's like Jake Gyllenhaal is shredded.
Yeah.
He got shredded for Southpaw. I really like Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. I like a lot of his movies. He looks phenomenal,
Yeah.
but like that's it. Like there's really he's not a cool hero like
No.
Swayze was. In fact, he's kind of a dickbag, and he's not a redeemable character in any
Yeah.
way. He's just a little bit of a psycho murderer, and then he just like vagabonds his way out of town.
He's-
Like there's no redeeming hero arc at all in
He's
this movie.
just tough.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original Dalton was like, he had like this swagger about him that made him charming and interesting. And like the dude was like super into like health nut shit, but was smoking the whole movie.
Yeah.
And there's just something so very charmingly 80s about the first one.
Sure.
And this is a perfect example of why you can't remake like those classic 80s badass movies. You
Yeah.
just can't do it today.
There's not the same. Yeah, go ahead.
I say Jake
Gyllenhaal.
he was plastic.
Yes.
He phoned this thing in. He had one emotional look on his face the whole time.
He's just
And
like
that
a
was,
smug,
that
like,
was just dumbassery.
I'm a badass.
I'm not going to smile.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kind of like,
Smirk.
I'm going to smirk the whole thing.
Yeah.
He phoned all his lines in. This movie is the quintessential example of Hollywood or Amazon Prime in this case, or whoever made this movie, making a checkbox movie of a classic from the 80s.
Oh, they checked
it
every
was
box.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
It was an absolute bullshit movie.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand
Man.
the character from the very beginning.
Thank you. That was my biggest issue with this movie.
This is not Dalton.
Yeah, Dalton.
It's not Dalton.
The character of Dalton was supposed to be like this underdog, like very lives by a code.
Yes.
He's a man's
He's
man.
a philosopher
Yeah, and
also kicks ass.
Jake Gyllenhaal's character in this movie, who I can't even consider him to be Dalton. He's not Dalton.
Not Dalton.
He's whatever. He's some
Dalton's
blank.
nephew.
He's a blank sheet of paper. He was just a douchebag, and he was a murderer, and he wasn't a hero. There at no point in time was I like, yeah, man, get him. It was like, no,
I wouldn't have cared if he got his ass kicked ever in this movie.
Just like, And this whole backstory, like they really didn't spend much time at all explaining. We're like, are we spoiling this? I guess. I mean, nobody gives a crap. Right?
Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares if we spoil this one. The 10-minute backstory that we get for this guy is that he was a professional UFC fighter who got in the ring with his best friend, and at some point in time during the fight, he just saw red and couldn't stop himself from murdering his best friend in the octagon. And then he's like, I'm a shit person.
Yeah.
I'm going to be depressed. And then he figured out that he's really good at kicking people's asses. So he just goes like Wolverine from the original X-Men, just like goes around like bars, kicking people's asses. He's not a redeemable or cool character at all. So
this movie lost me in literally the first 60 seconds. I'm not even joking. And Defro, he's in the chat. He can attest because we watched this movie together. He got me. I watched it on a watch party on our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Join me on Mondays.
For the record, the reason why I had to leave was because I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, but this movie opens up with a pit fighting scene of these guys
with Post Malone.
With fucking Post Malone. I'm like,
not just Post Malone, but like doughy, soft.
Post
Malone before he lost all
that fuck Malone.
This was
I'm like, Post Malone is not tough. He's not a fighter. What in what world does that tattooed fucking mumble rocking freak turn into a fighter?
And Post Malone's like, I'm not fighting him. He's an animal.
And then he got mad at the crowd for booing him because he didn't want to get his ass kicked by freaking shredded out Jake Gyllenhaal.
There isn't literally 100 guys on the UFC roster that Dana White couldn't have sent to the set and said, here, use this fat flubby schlub. At least he can fight.
Listen,
man. Like, come on, man. Post Malone.
When Conor McGregor, whether or not you like Conor McGregor is besides the point. He is a legitimately great fighter, right? You got that guy in your movie and you don't ask him like, hey man, can you kind of like guide us how to make these fights look cool? No. They're trash fights.
It would have cost more.
And they well, he's too coked up to worry about it. But the things about the fight scenes, like some of them were pretty cool looking. I like, Jake Gyllenhaal being shredded is really the only positive I have for his role in this movie. But like they were doing all this weird camera trickery where they were like flipping the camera around and doing all this stuff to distract you from the fact that the
actors aren't moving.
The fights are so slow and dumb and they don't make any sense. And you're like, this is just awful. Like if you have legitimate fighters on the crew and you've got people from the UFC involved in the movie and you're like, can I just put a camera on a tripod and watch you guys fight? Yeah, that's a cool fight.
Yeah.
But no, they got to do flips and they got to freaking roll the camera and they got to have people fly over desks for no reason. And it's just like, this is
honestly
not fun.
The original just kept it so simple.
Yeah, very
was
simple.
Just like fighting with fists.
Yeah.
And like every once in a while, some over the top guy on cocaine and just snorted a bunch of rage came in with like a boot and he like immediately tried to kick someone.
Yeah.
And then they just like beat them with their fists and threw them out. It was very simple. It was a very simple formula.
No, they overdid it with the fights in this movie. Post Malone.
And then at one point you gotta rip a guy's throat out.
Yeah. No, it was sad to say because I really do like Jake Gyllenhaal, and I was from the trailer.
They cannot all be
from the trailers. I was like, you know what, this movie might be kind of cool. But they don't even. They're in Key West in Florida, and I didn't see a single bikini, not a one. Yeah. And I was like, what's happening right now?
I'm just trying to figure out why we're supposed to feel any kind of intimidation or dread or whatever from any of the bad guys in this movie. Those biker dudes running around on their bullshit Hondas,
soft,
were weak. They were so weak.
The dudes in
the multi-diversity biker gang.
You notice that too?
It's like one's got a Harley, one's got a Honda, one's got a Kawasaki.
The one comedic relief white guy.
Black guy's got a crotch rocket. It was ridiculous. It's like, what is going on? And they're all working for the world's worst bad guy,
the loan shark or whatever.
The guy who's
with the yacht.
Dad's in the boat or dad's in jail.
And there was a corrupt cop in the middle of the movie for no reason that really didn't do anything.
It was just and then
Jake Gyllenhaal
there was a Latina Lori Petty as the love interest,
and Dalton in this movie had like a really creepy weird relationship with some random 14-year-old that he met like on the street, and he's just like, oh my god, I love you now. You're like my best friend. And I was like, why though? So weird.
The best part of this movie, that I guess I can say something, but I'm not going to try to spoil it. But it involved an alligator, and it was pretty cool. That was the best part of the movie for me.
That was the equivalent of Polar Bear Fell on Me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Oh, is that what that? Yeah, that makes more sense now.
none.
could say.
There's just no characters in this movie
Yeah.
that I cared about in any way.
Mhm.
In any way. It's like at the end. It's like what happened to the girl and her dad? Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Whatever.
They fucked off and moved away. It's like whatever. It's just
We burnt your girl's bookstore down.
spoilers.
What? I thought we covered that. We don't care.
know, man. I don't know. Whatever.
And, like that was the motivation for him to be like, I'm gonna get these guys. But I'm like, you met that girl for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And like now you're like mad because and who is she? Why did they burn her store down? How do they even
think
know you know her?
She was the equivalent to the original Dalton's friendship with Red,
Mhm.
but he was the uncle of the love interest in the first one,
Yeah.
which gave you a tie through.
No Sam Elliott in this movie.
Fuck, that is my major complaint with this movie. There's no Wade Garrett.
Yeah, there's
Who would
nothing.
have even played Wade?
Yeah, there's
I don't know.
nothing. You got a character
There's no Sam Elliott these days. For them
Yeah,
to
they're-
turn to.
Amen, brother.
Cheers to Sam Elliott.
we started watching the original last night, and like in that scene where they're getting the booze delivery from the alternate booze, I was like, babe, it's about to happen. It's about to happen. And like all of a sudden, Wade Garrett comes rolling up on his bike and
Yeah.
does
Just
this,
does that
with
road grease.
with his hair, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, yes, daddy.
And then after that scene, she's like, I'm going to bed.
No. I waited until after he showed his scar,
Oh.
and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to bed alone.
Oh man. Yeah, it was this is just
there is one character that I kind of laughed at.
is it the
And
dude
it
with
was
the bike?
It was the Mo guy. The
Dude with the bike who was
yeah,
like
he was kind of like, yeah, he broke my arm.
he was a good comedic relief.
But it felt
But-
like there was it was like a Taika Waititi influence or something going there.
He's
You know,
it
there
was like
it was kind of a dry humor.
yeah, I could see
It's
that.
like I think he was. If I had to pick
I
a
did-
favorite character in the movie, it's him.
you know, throughout the movie, I
Bar
did get like a
so
weird
low.
like Marvel humor thing
Yeah,
going on.
Something.
Like Conor McGregor would pop a couple one-liners that
Yeah.
were like, "What? Why are you saying
We
that?"
need somebody to come in here and punch up this script.
Well, the director of this movie, Doug Liman, so like his first movie was Swingers with Jon Favreau.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Vince Vaughn.
Makes sense.
And then he went on to do like Edge of Tomorrow and Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
The
a
original.
bunch of other stuff. Yeah,
So those are decent movies.
yeah. So like like he's got like a comedic background, but he's also got like some actual action movies under his belt.
Yeah.
This movie was insultingly bad.
It was.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
It was insultingly bad, especially like if you're a fan of the original. Like
Yeah.
the original Roadhouse is one of my all-time favorite
Mhm.
guilty pleasure films. Like I could just watch that movie like 1,000 times and be entertained each time.
Mhm.
I felt like so the original was set in Kansas City,
Mhm.
and that location kind of lent itself
Right.
to like a certain feel to the movie.
Yeah,
Whereas when you go to like the Florida Keys and it's all like
touristy.
yeah, well, it's all beautiful blue water and like, like all this stuff. And this movie was actually like the cinematography in this movie was actually like terrible. Like there are scenes where it's so dark you can barely see the characters. And it was just color graded very poorly. And like nothing about this movie looked good. And the reason it cost 80 something million is because there's actually a ton of CGI in this movie. What they did is they created body doubles for all the characters who were involved in fights. And in order to actually show like the fists connecting and stuff like that, basically every time you saw people fighting, it was like CGI body doubles.
Is that why it was so slow?
I don't know if it was slow or not, but
I
like,
found it very slow.
but like every time they were connecting their punches and kicks and stuff like that, it was all like computer
man.
generated.
Our slap fight is getting better and better.
Yeah,
There was one
practical
scene,
effects.
There was one scene where Connor's beating the crap out of Jake,
Mhm.
and you see him like hit his face, and it turns into like this weird CGI almost cartoon where his face kind of distorts, and gets weird, and it was like, oh, that was really bad CGI. if you look at it, it was terrible.
I don't know if you
Mm.
guys cared about this or not, but in the original Roadhouse, there's a lot of people who like use knives
Mhm.
and they'll like try to slash at people and maybe you'll
Mhm.
get like cut or occasionally. But in this movie, they had full on like stabbing people in the
Oh,
gut.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like the very first scene, Jake Gyllenhaal
Yeah.
gets a knife to the
It's
kidney.
like a 4-inch
Yeah.
stick. man.
He goes all the way in.
Yeah.
No, he legitimately has a freaking hilt sticking out the
Yeah.
side of his rib cage, and he's just like, I'm
I
fine.
think he needs to go get his
Oh.
spleen checked out. or
listen,
something.
listen. Pain don't hurt.
Yeah, and he literally just like takes the knife out, puts some duct tape on it.
Duct
He's like,
tape.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
But that's the first time he gets stabbed. Like there's another time he gets stabbed like right in the gut. And then there's another character who gets stabbed multiple times
Yeah.
and dies, you think.
Yeah.
Until like a post-credit scene shows
Yeah,
like, oh, he's
yeah.
fine. But like knife wounds have no impact on people in this movie. And that really bugged me. Because like, if you look at the first movie, it's like, yeah, like nobody gets like impaled by a knife, but they get like cut up by knives lots of times. And like you see them having to get stitched up. And
it's a flesh
in
wound.
the original, in the Swayze one, it's like he got cut a few times, right? But it was never to the point where it's like he's got an 8-inch Bowie knife sticking out of his spleen. It's like they all look like cuts that you could like that he could legitimately
patch up
himself. And the first movie was smart enough to like, if there was something that he couldn't, he went and saw his girlfriend at the ER, right?
Doc.
You know, so I mean,
yeah, he didn't drive the guys he beat up to the ER. Like if
that
was
pretty
up,
funny.
he'd
That was
drive to
kind
the
of funny. It's like, are you good?
But so like, you know, you already covered the fact that there's a backstory in the remake where Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Elwood Dalton, killed a guy in the ring because he just like lost his crap. And
We're going to talk about your headcanon.
Well, no, we're not going to talk about that.
You have headcanon for this movie?
No, for the original.
Oh, okay.
In the original movie, Dalton has the same backstory, but it's different because he did kill someone in Missouri. And what happened was he got involved with a woman that he fell in love with. The woman never told him that she was married. And so when the husband found out in a jealous rage, he came to kill Dalton and he had a gun. And so Dalton in self-defense had to like kill this guy before he could shoot him. And since that point on, you know, like he got arrested, he went to trial, he pleaded self-defense, he got off, but he's been carrying around the guilt of that. But it's not the same type of guilt that Gyllenhaal's character was carrying around, because like basically Gyllenhaal spiraled into basically like I'm just a worthless piece of crap and I'm a vagabond now and I don't care about anything. Whereas Dalton, like he was afraid to get too close to anyone after that because he just didn't trust women. And then when he met the doctor, like she kind of broke through those barriers and stuff like that.
She wore that hot picnic table cloth dress, and how can you turn away from that?
There was just little nuances about this Dalton compared to the original that I just missed.
I don't think there's any nuance in this movie at all.
Right. But you know, there's things that, like, I'm going to drive this piece of shit car around because I know everybody's going to mess the car up. But, you know, in storage, he's got his freaking
Mercedes.
Nice, you know.
He didn't even have a car in this remake.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he took the bus, he walked.
It's like he's a literal vagabond.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just going to bus around the planet. It's like, come on.
The great thing about the original is like you saw how very strategic Dalton was, right? Where like he's like, this is a job. I don't take anything people say or do personally. I know that, you know, people are going to react certain ways to me. So like, I'm going to take these precautions. He was the professional cooler. He was the guy who came in and he cleaned stuff up and he made it so that if you went to a bar, you had a good time. You know,
he
like,
had a whole philosophy about how to do his job.
He was a philosopher from NYU, had a degree in philosophy. So he was one of those like spiritual warrior types. And the great thing about the original was like Dalton came in, he took a look at like how things were operating and he spotted all the problems.
Very smart guy.
Yeah. And then he eliminated all the problems. And then he started training the guys who stayed. And you could see
he had a plan, he had a crew. It was
and you could see it throughout the movie how he trained his guys, and eventually like they all were wearing uniforms and they all knew what to do. And there was a scene in the remake where he sends like the one bouncer that is at the Roadhouse to a guy. He's like, hey, that guy has a knife. When he pulls it on you, just like move back and then hit him. And so like, you know, the thing about Dalton was like, he has that famous scene where he goes through his 3 rules. He's like, expect the unexpected, take it outside, and most of all, be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Right.
And he made it clear. He's like, I'll have your back. You have my back. As long as we do that, we're going to be fine.
Yeah. He's like, you guys are the bouncers. I'm the cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, there was a scene that mirrored that one in the original where a guy goes to bring this girl who's dancing on a table down. And one of the guys who was enjoying watching her dance pulls a knife. And the guy, the bouncer who was there was like totally taken off guard. He's about to get stabbed. And Dalton just comes in, breaks the guy's arm, you know, disarms him, slams his head into the table, and then has the bouncers take him out. And that was the primary thing about Dalton. And he's like, I got the back of my boys. And with with that, the biggest problem I had with the remake was that Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Elwood Dalton, he'd just be sitting there at the bar drinking
while everything was falling apart.
As fights start.
Yeah.
Like he didn't do anything to
Didn't have his
kinda
boys'
cool it.
backs.
No, not at all. Like he hired like an extra bouncer to come in, and like we have this montage of them like, taking care of things, and Jake Gyllenhaal is just sitting there like drinking at the bar. And I'm like, this is the training montage. Like eventually, like in the original movie, you see the Double Deuce kind of evolve to take the screen around the stage down, and people are having a good time. The riffraff and the drug dealers are like out. In this movie, like the bar never improves. You never see the evolution of like the crew or anything like that. It was so terribly done. And Dalton's character was just like awful. And most of all, one of the things that really struck out to me, because originally the original Roadhouse was 3 hours long and they had to cut it down to about 2 hours.
I would watch the shit out of it.
So would I.
Is there more Wade Garrett in it?
Yeah, like half of his scenes got cut on that one. Yeah.
Oh, Drew's going on the hunt tonight. She's like, I'm finding that director's cut.
Somebody send me that.
But the thing that's crazy in rewatching the original is how much time they spend on the relationship between the doctor and Dalton, where you actually get to see them kind of like, fall in love. And the great thing about the original is that it starts off as like a personal beef because Dalton fires the main bad guy's nephew. Mm. And then like, as the movie goes on, you see how like Dalton can't be bought and he's inspiring other people to kind of like go against the bad guy. And so it becomes a personal animosity type thing. Whereas in this movie, the bad guy was so freaking stupid. Like he wants to, he wants to run the Roadhouse down so he can buy the property to build a resort. But the introduction to him,
it's terrible.
It really is. So like he's on his boat and he has his thugs who had just gotten beaten by Dalton on there telling him, and he's sitting there and he's having this guy.
He gives such like, I'm going to tell my father about this energy.
Well, he's sitting there and he's getting a shave with a straight razor on a boat that's in like really choppy water.
And you're like, look at me, how tough I am.
Yeah, well, they were trying to
you better not
tell a
fuck
story,
up.
but just didn't.
Well, it wasn't about how tough he was. It was about how stupid he was, because in a properly written story, he'd have one of the guys there and he'd be shaving him with a straight razor on the choppy things and continuing to cut him, instead of like having his guy be like, no, just keep your wrist loose, just like shave me, and he keeps getting cut. And it just shows like how stupid of a character he is. Because like, who puts themselves in that situation, So like the entire movie was just like a freaking mess. And the doctor, most of all, like she was like the strong female character type thing. Yeah. And I didn't buy their relationship like at all. She was like, she was just like so like aggressively mean.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
And then all of a sudden she was like, hey, I'm flirting with you now. It came out of nowhere. She went from zero, like frozen solid on this guy to like burning with like passion for him. No lead up. And it was totally unbelievable. Sorry, Vika.
No, that's cool. I didn't mean it. She came off as just, I'm thirsty for some strange D. And this is the new guy on the island. So there it is. Let's go get it. We'll just take the boat and
I mean, there were a lot of parallels between the remake and the original. Like, like you said, like Red's Auto Body Shop was now the bookstore with the 14-year-old girl. And there was a lot of stuff that you can like draw where it's like, okay, they took this from the original and they changed it, but none of the changes were good changes. Especially like they introduced this corrupt sheriff like midway through the movie. And in the original Roadhouse, there was a corrupt sheriff, but he got cut out of the 3-hour cut. So like, police were just like a non-entity in the original Roadhouse. But in this one, like they introduced this weird character. And at the end, he like switches sides for some reason. It was just like, it was so stupid. But
it's a mess.
But the biggest thing that we need to talk about, Conor McGregor.
He's just, you got,
so
like, hey, Conor, listen, we want you to beef up, do a little bit of, and come on set and just be you. And that's really all it was. It's just Conor McGregor being over the top Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
I don't want Conor McGregor coming.
I don't have...
If you say his name a certain amount of times, does he just appear in the next room?
Just walking in.
Yeah.
Listen,
no pants on.
Yeah.
I love watching Conor fight.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's... I try not to miss a pay-per-view with him.
I saw him fight live once.
No way.
Yeah.
great.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
But man-
Jude used to be really into Conor McGregor.
Nice.
This dude can't act his way out of a paper sack. Okay,
It's just being him. It's
I
just
know.
like, yeah.
It's just.
Listen to this guy. He's in one
No,
fucking Len Kabasinski movie. Fuck me.
I can't act either. I get it. It's hard, but
He was my favorite part of the movie.
he's
Just watching him be
he's
Conor
just
McGregor
fresh.
and be like a goofy bad guy.
Like
I was
I
like,
said,
all
the
right.
bar is very low.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Connor, you're gonna have to come in and say a few lines in your weird, or not in your weird, but in your accent, and like where the fuck are you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna fight. Sounds good. I can fight and I can talk,
Yeah.
but
That's all he
don't
does.
ask me to do those things at the same time. Okay, so
These one-liners were so cheesy, though.
He never had the one-liner that he needed to have, though.
Which was?
Used to fuck guys like you in prison.
Yeah. You so fool guys like you in prison. That would have been funny. That would have been funny.
It would have been.
and
Yeah.
was this when we got introduced to him? Right, he's like naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that CGI or was that real?
I think that was real.
Really? Huh? It looked fake.
Yeah.
It looked like a fake ass. But
They
you
probably
know,
blurred it.
How do you know what a fake ass
I don't know.
is?
It looked like it was digital.
I've seen a lot of fake
Seen
ass
a
in
lot
my
of
day.
asses in my day. I could tell a fake one from a real one.
Okay.
Fake ones,
Yeah.
real ones,
Oh, yeah.
smelly ones.
Now, overall, this movie is just very, very badly cheap imitation. I watched it with somebody who had never seen the original, and he was just like, "Oh, this is a stupid fun movie." I'm like,
Who'd you watch it with?
"All right." My brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
He's not a movie guy. He's probably seen 12 movies in his entire life, and he's like, "Oh, I saw this new Roadhouse movie on. I was going to watch it." I'm like, "Go ahead, man." So he was like, it was entertaining as like we were just hanging out, sipping beers on a couch, and it's just like, all right, sure, it's fine, whatever. I didn't have to pay for it, but as far as like holding up to the original, not even close. Not even close.
Mhm.
I gave it, what did I say, 38% on Critic List. It's a bogus movie. It's just not good. Just go watch the original.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
In every aspect. Even the fight scenes in this movie were slow and cheap.
This movie will be forgotten in a month.
Immediately, yeah.
People
Yeah.
will still be watching the original Roadhouse.
What is
30 years from now?
What was
Right.
Jeremy Johns' thing? Is like, I'll forget about this movie in T-minus 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that rating. It's just like,
And
just keep moving.
what was crazy is Doug Liman. So this movie premiered at South by Southwest, the festival, and he was really pissed off that it didn't get a theatrical release by Amazon because Amazon was going to send it straight to streaming.
Yeah,
And I'm like, Amazon was smart because if they put this out in theater, it would have bombed.
Yeah.
Would
terribly.
have bombed like really bad. And I'm like he was talking about how like Jake, this is the best performance of Jake Gyllenhaal's career.
No.
Career. And I was like, have you
What?
seen other Jake Gyllenhaal movies?
No,
I mean,
dude, Southpaw was so much better.
He might be the most jacked
I know.
performance.
I think he was more jacked in Southpaw.
Really?
Yeah, have you ever seen Southpaw?
I don't think
It's a depressing boxing like sports movie, but he's legitimately good in it.
Or even like Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler, he was great acting in that movie. He is such a creep. Yeah, no, Jake Gyllenhaal's a great actor. I have no problem with the guy.
Yeah.
This is just him paying some bills, I guess.
I will say the one scene in this movie that I really liked, and it was in the trailer, was when he brings all the bikers outside and he's like, "Where's the closest hospital?" It's like, "Do you guys
Yeah.
have insurance?
Yeah.
Do you have a good dental plan?"
Yeah,
And like he slaps that guy. He's like, "Oh, that looked like it hurt. Are you okay?" And then he just like starts slapping all the guys around. I thought that was really fun. And
Mhm.
when you watch the original, there's a lot of scenes of Patrick Swayze and his crew actually like
doing their job.
Yeah, doing their job, like bouncing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because throughout that movie, Patrick Swayze's Dalton, like you see him going through like his daily life, like doing Tai Chi, doing laundry,
Mhm.
attending to his car and stuff like that.
And Wade Garrett is the one who's like snapping puns while he's fighting with people.
Yeah. So like you see a lot of examples of like how good Dalton is at his job. And in this movie, like you don't get any of that. Like none. Like Dalton isn't even like a cooler or a bouncer or a security expert or whatever you want to call him. He's just a washed up UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman, for whatever reason, she's like, "Hey, come and be like the head of my security at my Roadhouse bar." And what's crazy is like, so like she gives him her number, right, to like call and like come out. And apparently like he doesn't call her because like he gets off the bus. He doesn't know what the name of the club is. He doesn't know where it's located or anything like that. It's just kind of like, did you call and let her know that you're coming?
Yeah.
Like what's going on here?
Stalker. fucker.
Did you guys notice that the name of the grocery store that the dad and daughter ran was called the Double Deuce?
Double Deuce.
No, I
Double
didn't
Deuce
grab that.
Grocery.
The two shits.
Yeah. Fun little homage to the original.
And
Going to two shits. Do you need any milk?
I gotta say, the lack of sexiness in this movie.
Oh yeah,
No
is
sex.
terrible.
yeah. No, it's
That's what I
2024.
wanted to talk about. So we rewatched the original last night, and like rewatching the scene where Dalton and Doc hook up for the first time. You don't see there's no nudity in that scene, but that scene is so fucking sexy. The second that song comes on. I was telling Matt this last night, like the second that song comes on anywhere, you're like, even if you were like, oh yeah, I'm just like going to the grocery store or whatever, that song comes on, you're like, someone's gonna fuck. That song evokes sex.
Yeah.
And the look that they give each other was like, oh yeah, we're fucking tonight. And like he just like slides his hand up her dress, and all you see is like the side of her thigh. It is so fucking hot.
Not wearing any panties.
And like just like the lovemaking aspect of that scene is so hot, so sexy, and it's memorable. Like it's such a memorable scene. You didn't have to see any nudity in it for it to be so sexy. And this movie had zero nudity in it and was also not sexy. Had zero
also,
chemistry.
Like in the original Roadhouse, there was like wet G-string contests or topless pool parties. Like every time you go to the club, you'd see like really sexy 80s, like you know,
yeah, man.
like,
It was the 80s. Yeah, they don't have none of that in this. Like I said, there's not even a bikini. You're in the Key West of Florida, and there's not a single hot chick in a bikini.
The 80s were sexy. Okay.
They were.
All the boobs in the 80s movie had like the not tanned triangle
Yeah,
around
yeah.
it.
No, because they were just chicks off the side of the street. They're like, hey, you want to be in a movie?
Yeah.
They're like, no, this movie is like so sterilized for PC culture that it's just frustrating.
Also, they missed that $20 per kiss on the boob bit.
Oh, it's $10 per tit, but with inflation, I could see it being $20 per kiss.
And he's sitting there, he's like, "Ain't you gonna kiss him?" He's like, "I don't have $20."
I've got no more to talk about this movie. It's a hard pass for me. If you haven't seen it, don't. It's not worth it. Just go watch the original.
5 stars?
No, this is like a 1-star crap fest. It's not good.
I agree.
If you're a little tipsy and you're hanging out by the pool and you got
Watch
something
the
on,
original.
you got something in the background, watch the original. Yeah. I can't even I'm trying to give it anything, and I'm like, nah, man, it's not. Nah, just don't. It's just not good.
There's no reason to give this thing anything more than 1 star.
Yeah.
It's a 1-star crap fest, 100%.
Yeah, I think
it's been a while since we watched a 1-star crap fest.
It's been a minute, but leave it to 2024.
I don't know if you remember, but this when the trailer for this came out and they said that we're remaking or rebooting or whatever.
The trailer looked cool. I was
Honestly,
actually in.
I was pissed. I was like, I'm not fucking watching that. Also, I'll probably fucking watch it.
Yeah.
But like, I was pissed. I was like, this is a remake that no one asked
Nobody asked for.
that no one wants, that I'm mad that they made it. And then like, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, I'll fucking watch it. I'm not going to like it, but I'll watch it. And I watched it. I had to get 5 drinks deep to enjoy any of it. And I was just like, it's so boring. There's nothing entertaining with it. It's not badass. It's not fun.
Nope.
It's not a comedy. It's not scary. No one's scary in it. No one's over the top. And it's not sexy. There's nothing for anyone in this movie. If you need a good turn your brain off movie, watch the original. This is a 1-star crap fest.
100%.
Yeah, I agree with you all. This is a definite 1-star crap fest.
Across the board.
Across the board, 1-star crap fest. That's your goblet of fire going on over there.
I'm on number 2, bro.
Yeah.
Cool. That's so gross.
And I get really annoyed when people like on Twitter, like whatever, they're like, "This movie was so fun." I'm like, no.
There's people
Those are
that like
bots.
this movie?
Those are bots.
You've never seen a fun movie then.
Look, my brother-in-law liked it, but he watches, like I said, he watches like 3 movies a year.
He probably likes Sahara.
So I like Sahara. What are you trying to say?
Leave him alone.
Are you trying to talk shit about Sahara?
Yeah.
It's got Matthew McConaughey and Penelope Cruz, man. Yo, pound rocks. All right.
Yeah, but I don't understand anyone who could look at this movie and be like, "Oh yeah, it was a fun movie." It's like, no,
a movie.
Like even if the original didn't exist, I'd be tearing this movie to shreds at how bad it was.
Minus a half. Nerdy Neo says minus a half star for no boobs.
Yeah, put some boobs in it.
0.5 star movie. All right, well that's it for the discussion of Roadhouse. Hey folks, if you like this video, be sure to watch this one next. And if you want to see the full episode of this podcast, click right here.